Hello, it's season two, the autumn, episode 17, Tower. Welcome to Patroma Therapy. Today it's cold and rainy and overcast, and you are going to see on the cover shot a tower at the Latino Cultural Center here in Dallas. It's a regional uh, museum that preserves and develops Latino and Hispanic arts, and it's designed by an architect named Ricardo Legorreta, who is from Mexico. So, how are you today?
I don't know what to say really. Um, define would the would define be okay?
Well, you're the one that, you're the one how you know, you're the one that knows how you are, right? Because you're in patroma therapy. Well, let me ask you a more specific question. When you hear the word tower, what do you think about?
I think of multiple towers we have in the world, starting with the Tower of Babylon and also the Tower of Pisa, the Leaning Tower of Pisa, and Eiffel Tower. Somehow the Mount Rushmore come to
Yes.
mind. It's not the
Do you know
tower
how?
though.
Well, it's a big mountain. Well, the Eiffel Tower in French, people don't say the Eiffel Tower. They say La Tour Eiffel, FL.
Nice.
And when I was younger and traveled in Europe, I got to go to the Leaning Tower of Pisa before they corded it off. I think currently, not just because of COVID, but because of the architecture that's making it lean, people are not allowed to go up into it. But I was actually able to go up into the Leaning Tower of Pisa. And somewhere I have a picture of myself at about age 16 wearing a sun hat, leaning out, waving. And it is a very fond memory. So, yes, all of these towers uh, trigger a lot of memories and associations. We have the expression that the ivory tower, when people remove themselves from the common people and they go up into academia or the intelligentsia, and they're somehow removed from the common person with their specialized knowledge. So, sometimes it's used in a derogatory way, like,
Was it
yep, they're up in their ivory tower.
Was it scary? Was it scary experience to be on the Leaning Tower of Pisa? Because I don't know how it stays intact, and it always baffled me. It's I don't know, leaning at 5-degree angle, I guess.
Well, this was well, I just know that you paid your fee and some little man in a hat with a feather gave you a ticket, and the stairways going up is only enough for about three people to pass. So maybe one person is going up and two people are coming down. So it's narrow, it's dark, it's made of stone, and the only thing you're thinking of is I'm inside, like it feels like a tunnel, and you just go up to certain levels where they have lookouts. So you could look out at level 3 or level 10 or level 12. And I was thinking it's such a great adventure. I loved it. Also, I was able to walk on the roof of the cathedral in Milan, and I don't think they let people up there anymore either. So, do they have any towers in Russia? Any like cool, amazing towers?
Not that I can think of. We have the television towers from the beginning of the century, but it's not that cool or amazing. Um, when you were the tallest tower I've been on was like Empire State Building in New York. I guess the 86th floor observation floor. I don't remember, but you know what? They
Yes.
told me that there is a secret room. I think on the 87th level, or I don't know where. Every tower had a secret room. Go figure. Including Pisa Tower, I'm sure.
Well, I think that's where the VIPs hang out and did like vodka shots or something like that. There is always a secret room. Towers are also famous, and I'm going to go ahead and use the word ubiquitous. I really feel like using that. They're like everywhere, ubiquitous in folklore and fairy tales. And the tower I often think of is the Tower of Rapunzel. Somehow she has this amazing long hair, and a witch has captured her and kept her up in this tower. And they don't want her to marry this prince. And then the prince comes wandering through the forest on his horse. And there's no way to get up into the tower because they've sealed off the inner stairway. And so she throws her hair down, and the man climbs up on her hair. I think that's pretty amazing. I think that would be a great date.
Mm.
So anyhow, Rapunzel's up in the tower, and then they somehow get down out of the tower and they run away. So that's a fairy tale story about a tower.
Do you know the story? Do you know the story about the Tower of Babylon?
I think it's just called the Tower of Babel.
Babel.
In the uh, in uh, the gardens of Babylon are famous, but the Tower of Babel is, I think, a story in the Old Testament in Genesis, and
Yeah, I think
it's
so. Yeah,
supposed to be a story of why there are so many different languages. Yeah,
Tower of Babel, right?
and then we
Lincoln
have
Heaven
the
and
the
Earth.
idea that yeah, babble, but we have the expression in English like he's just babbling, which just means talking nonsense. So the word babble is related to languages and speaking, and it is an origin myth about how things came to be. So, what do you know about this Tower of Babel story?
Always intrigued me, really. I don't know much except that the story goes that God was so angered by the building of the tower that he stopped the Babylonians by confusing their languages and making them unable to understand each other. Um, that's pretty much everything I know.
Yes, and I think you're actually correct. It is actually built supposedly in Babylonia, and that you were calling it the Tower of Babylonia, which actually was correct. But I've seen works of art where it's called the Tower of Babel, and it's interesting how when you study linguistics or the origin of language, there are certain root words that have the same root. Like in Turkish, when we talk about cherry preserves, we call it vishne. And then
Yeah,
you said that in Russian there's a similar word.
yeah, it's a berry, right? We call it vishna. But
Yes, and
what I
it's like
noticed
how
what I noticed I told you once that I loved listening on Watt's lectures, and in one of his lectures he mentioned the ancient Hinduist, I don't know, text probably, the Vedanta philosophy and Upanishads, and they say there is a concept that is called non-dual, and he said dva. Dva means like two in English, it's a number, but it says dva in Russia means exactly the same as dva in Upanishads, written I don't know how many thousand years ago. And then I started to think
yeah,
I've come across many words and idioms, including like in English language too, completely mirroring each other. For instance, if you say it's a small world, like in
yeah,
Russia we have the exact same expression, or out of sight, out of mind. We have exact same expression. It couldn't be just translated. Or
right,
there is no smoke without a fire. We have the exact same expression, and it made me think that maybe there is a common
right.
origin where it all comes from.
Well, I think that as human beings, we have a lot of similar core experiences, falling in love, dealing with death, crossing a river, having a challenge, dealing with life. So, as human beings, we express these challenges and moments in myths and in stories. And you mentioned the Upanishads. That is one tradition of the flood and how things came to be. And then in Christianity and Judaism, through the Old Testament, we have the stories in Genesis. And then there's many paintings that talk about towers. There's a famous painting by Peter Bruegel the Elder. It's just called the Tower of Babel. And we've talked before in season one about the myth of Sisyphus and the myth of Icarus and Daedalus, and the Minotaur and the Labyrinth. So I think you're right with these core experiences that are expressed in myths.
You know what?
Language expresses something, so there's no, there's it's a reason that there's similarities. I'm
Yeah,
kind of babbling. Sorry.
no, that's very, very important point you brought up when you mentioned Greek myth. And Upanishads were written in Sanskrit, I think, Greek philosophy naturally in Greek. But what I'm point is when you have like two languages, relationship between languages are like Spanish or Portuguese, pretty easy to see, right? But if you speak about Greek or Sanskrit or some Russian, Spanish, and English, and you can have these ideas that all derived from a common source, that makes you question the like traditional, I don't know, history, or I don't know what else. I believe into.
Well, the thing is, like it's often been described as a tree, and the Upanishads were written in Sanskrit, and they belong to the Hindu tradition. But Greeks have stories too, and in Spain and Portugal and Mexico, there's other stories also. So I think that they speak to our common core, humanity. It's interesting to me too how the tower is used in the tarot cards. In the tarot cards, I think it's number 16. It's a burning tower, and I've heard people talking about like a tarot moment way too high. You're in too deeply, and you've got to fall. And it's quite often related to the idea of pride goes before the fall. So if you crawl up into your tower and then something happens, the tower falls or the tower crashes. So do you have that expression in Russian? Pride goes before the fall, or something like that?
No, I don't remember. I don't remember. We have something, but that doesn't mean it doesn't have.
Well, there's also, towers and songs. Towns Van Zandt is a Texas songwriter, and he has a song that's called the Tower Song, and he says, kind of a love song. He says, "You've built your tower strong and tall. Don't you see? All towers have to fall one day." So it's kind of a sad ballad about the nature of relationships and how they kind of fall apart.
You
And
know.
the University of Texas has a big. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that skyscrapers
Go ahead.
definitely qualify as a tower, modern towers, and I
Oh yes.
you always you. I think the tallest towers, the tallest skyscrapers are located in China and Saudi Arabia or somewhere uh, down south, and
Right.
yeah, like I
I
definitely not
think
in
in
the U.S. or not in
Dubai.
Russia, in
Dubai.
China, I think.
Right. Well, people like to go and see these famous towers, and they're very iconic. And I know that since I live in Texas, a very very famous tower is at the University of Texas. And in 1966, this guy Charles Whitman, who was a former Marine, took a bunch of rifles up to the observation deck and just started shooting. And now, years later, the observation deck has been closed. It's like It's like got bad karma or something. They don't want anybody up there with a gun. So, towers are associated with, all different sorts of things. How did it feel to be in did you say you went to the Empire State Building, or where did you go in New York?
Yeah, in I've been in New York and definitely I visited the Empire State Building. I have a selfie. I think that's the top selfie spot in the U.S.
Probably so. It's a famous place to go where people get engaged and people have anniversary moments and people will take their family there.
But still, it has
Um,
it has a long way to go to if they want to connect like the Earth and the space. Although there is no set line between Earth and
oh
space,
yeah.
but the idea is you have to connect both with the tower as tall as you can get. Um, but that's impossible. I think that made me when I was in school. I remember this idea that the tower cannot be built uh, above, I don't know, 30 kilometers high, and if you want to build the tower, you actually and connect the moon, the Earth and the moon, you have to have some kind of a ribbon that connects the Earth and the moon that is used as elevator. Space elevators were said.
Wow.
What kind of idea is that?
Well, that is kind of interesting. I'm not sure if there is a way to get up into the tower in the cover shot. This in the cover shot, as I mentioned, this is the Latino Cultural Center here in Dallas, but it has the tall tower, and then right next to it, it has a horizontal wall. So it's and also the architect Legoretto is a Mexican architect, and they have this big open plaza. So I think towers and plazas are places where people like to gather and take selfies and things like that.
How
Have you
about
ever been
Tower?
to Paris?
How about Tower of London?
I was just going to say that. I was going to say um, something about Paris, and I know you've been to London. How is that?
Well, it's a keep basically. It's a fortification or the king residence for the last thing I checked. They have these guardians, these guards, beef eaters. They're called
Guards,
beef eaters. They were
right?
guarding the Tower of London like for the past 600 years, I think, and um, I think they've been um, how do you call it when they've
It's
been
also
let
used as
go?
a
Some of
prison.
it.
Yeah, it's they also put people in the tower as a prison. I think Sir Thomas More was there, Anne Boleyn. A lot of famous people were walled up in the tower and later beheaded. So the tower has some ominous associations too. When I was in London, it was rainy and kind of gloomy, and I was very eager to look at the Thames and think about William Blake. But there's a lot of romantic, nostalgic uh, stories and feelings around towers. So we hope that our subscribers will hit the like button and make a few comments. We've got some new episodes coming up. Can you remember what our next episode is?
The best day of the week.
Yeah, the best day of the week. So I guess we're going to wrap it up for now and keep your eyes peeled for towers around you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.